Hey guys, it's Bob. Sorry I haven't been getting my weekly training videos up between working with my camera crews, their jobs, and my own schedule. I really haven't been able to film as much as I would like. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start doing a video like this every week where I just kind of talk about boxing. I talk about my training, what I'm hoping to do, what drives me, and little tips for your own training, things I've discovered. As always, leave something in the comments if you have a question about it. I will still be doing the training videos, but I'm probably going to be doing them about once a month from this point on, rather than once a week, as I had hoped. So, tonight I'm going to talk about training yourself. And I spent 5 years training myself before I took any sort of formal training at all. And even then it was little bits of training until I finally joined a gym just this past year when it opened. There wasn't a gym near me, so I really couldn't do much. First thing with training yourself is you need to have a good schedule, and this was what I wasn't really good at when I was teaching myself. I'm getting better now that I have a coach and now that I have trainers telling me what I should be doing. So when you're at home, sit down, write out a schedule for every day of the week, what you're going to do. Here's the schedule I wrote up just about a week ago, and it seems like a pretty good schedule, except I did not put times down for everyone. I didn't say 12 o'clock noon, take a run, or anything along those lines. And the problem with that is that I put it off until the end of the day, and then I'm either trying to cram in a bunch of stuff, or I just say, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, I'm not going to do this now. That's not really a good training method. So I will continue adding tips, but my big tip right now is put out a schedule, make sure you put times on it so that you know when you're going to do it, and then hold yourself to that so that you're constantly improving. Run is the other big thing. Run every day. That should be a huge part of it. You should aim, if you haven't run before, start running a mile, mile and a half, and as you improve, keep making it longer, go for better times. I know one kid at my gym, once he ran a mile, did 20 push-ups, and he did that for 7 miles. So you're always improving. If you're not improving, then you're getting worse, generally speaking. So you're always trying to push to improve. And so my big improvement is adding times to the schedule tonight. The other thing I want to talk about as far as training yourself is literature. The first book I ever got on boxing specifically was Bare Knuckle Boxer's Companion, and it's about bare knuckle boxing, the older styles before we had the gloves and before we had quite as many rules. And it's very, very, very informative in that way. It doesn't help as much in the modern sport of boxing. It still helps some, though. But what it really has is it has a lot of drills in there. It talks about conditioning yourself, and it has things you can do with a friend to work your combinations, things you can do by yourself. It is very informative. The best book, though, for someone who's starting out with boxing would be The Startup Guide to Boxing. It talks a little bit about your equipment, but it also just takes you through your basic offense, your basic defense, footwork. Footwork is critical in boxing, and it gets you started. And once you get started, then you can start looking for more advanced literature on the matter. There's also a number of different YouTube videos. I know Anderson Silva, who's a pretty famous mixed martial artist, has a few tutorials out there on boxing you should look into. And just you need to constantly be reading, watching, learning. Watch professional fights, because if you're not learning, then you're not improving. And that's key. Boxing isn't two guys in a ring slugging it out. It is a chess match. It is a war where you're trying to outfight the other guy. You're trying to outsmart him, not just outmuscle him. So constantly, you have to be trying to learn as you go. The equipment for boxing is actually relatively cheap, which is pretty nice. It's kind of a poor man's sport, and once you get it, if you get quality stuff, it should last you for a long time. The main piece of training equipment you're probably going to want is a heavy bag. You can get an 80 to 100 pound heavy bag for about $80, and you can get deals with those where they come with training gloves, hand wraps, and sometimes you can even get mitts, which are what you use. They're like little leather shields on your hands you use to train with someone else and work combinations. These are training gloves. I got them with my heavy bag. I got them for $80. Came with this and some 108-inch hand wraps. I'll get the hand wraps in a minute. These are training gloves, not fighting gloves, not sparring gloves. That's important to remember. This is a sparring glove. I got this in a kit with headgear and shin guards because it was an MMA kit. Now, if you can look at it sideways, you can see just how much more padding there is on the training glove compared to the sparring glove, or on the sparring glove compared to the training glove. And that is because training gloves exist to protect your hand purely from the force of your impact. Sparring gloves also exist a little bit to protect the other guy's face. So, if you're going to spar, make sure you get sparring gloves, and you're going to want leather. Don't get plastic or vinyl, because that'll tear, and then you can cut. You can cut the other person with it. Get leather. It's a much better material, and it will last you much longer, too. But if you're just training by yourself, and you're out sparring, and you shouldn't spar without supervision of some sort of third party to call halt if there's something goes wrong. If you're just training, get training gloves, because they're better for your hands, and they're good to protect your hands when you're working on that heavy bag we just talked about. Hand wraps come in two sizes mainly. There are a few others, but you've got your 108-inch hand wraps, which are just very basic. You can get a decent wrap out of them. But I recommend you go straight to the professional length, which is 180 inches. And I'll be doing a little tutorial on how to wrap your hands a couple different ways later. These are important because they immobilize your wrist so that it doesn't bend an excessive amount when you punch something. And that's something you should work on with your punch technique too. If you do it right, it shouldn't bend. But if you bend, that's where you get breaks, that's where you get sprains, and if you break or sprain your wrist, then you're done training for several weeks. Other equipment you might want to look at. If you go to a gym and you're looking to get some fights or even just spar, get some boxing shoes. These are kind of an in-between. Normally you've got low tops, which are about this height, about the same as a general sneaker, something along those lines. Then you get high tops, which will go all the way up to your calves. These are kind of a nice middle one. I really like them because they offer support for my ankles, but they don't go so high up that I feel like I'm restricted significantly. These ran around $80. You can get them from all sorts of different prices. The more you pay, the higher quality usually, but you can get a pretty decent pair for 30 to 50 bucks, same as you would for an ordinary pair of sneakers. Wrestling shoes also work in a lot of cases. Headgear is again important if you're going to be sparring. Again, leather. Get leather. Vinyl is going to break. It's just not good. Get leather headgear. This will run you about the same as gloves. If you're getting gloves separate from a bag, they can run. You can get gloves for about 12 bucks, but they're going to be vinyl and they're not going to be good. So you probably want to spend at least 20 to 30 on them. Again, the more you spend, the higher quality you'll get. But it's not something you really want to skimp on, because if you get a good pair, it'll last you a long time. That's most of what I've got for time tonight. Just remember, make a schedule, train yourself, read. You're always learning. If you're not learning, then you're not improving. And if you're not getting more physically active from a constant schedule, then your skills will not be able to evolve any further either. So, mentally evolve and physically evolve. That's your lesson for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to doing more in the future. Have a good one.